last week we were talking about this no transaction, right, in spirituality. So even in meditation, did I lose you guys? Okay. So even in meditation, there is some expectation. So when the transaction ends in the mind, correct? The meditation takes it into a different dimension, really. Suppose if I'm doing for a peace, then the idea is that I don't have peace. Inevitably, I meditate on non-peace. Right? So what I don't have, I keep meditating on it. So if I do anything for something, exactly the opposite effect takes over. So that's why I think Jose joined. Hey Jose, good evening, thanks for joining. So I was just continuing from last week about the transaction in the mind or transaction in spirituality. So we kind of strike this deal with even God. Oh, I'm a devotee, so you better help me. That is the attitude. I mean, that's a general attitude. I'm not saying everyone is like that. Right? A general attitude is, I'm your devotee, I'm a believer, so better you help me. Correct? Or, at least we have that belief that if I am believing in you, so you help me. Correct? So there is some level of transaction there. So in the transaction, what happens is we are we get into a mode of wanting more, receiving more. So when I go into a receiving mode, like I said, we shrink. Our heart shrinks. When I'm giving, my heart expands. So when I go to God, instead of receiving, I should give. So what can I really give to God? Myself. And more than myself, the gratitude I can show. So the gratitude is something we can give. Now that we are approaching Thanksgiving, I think it's an apt subject, gratitude. So when I was in Kanha, I was generally watching people, everyone has their own world, in that world they are happy, in that world they are sad, in that world they are suffering. Everyone has some phases, they're going through, like my mother is going through this cancer phase, so much pain, so much suffering. So I told her, this suffering anyway, it's unavoidable. I mean, that's how life is, and that's how life has presented to you. But instead, what you can do is, for whatever you have received so far. But I told her, I gave her examples, some of the relatives around who kind of went through much more suffering than her. If I compare to them, you are in a much better place. So I said, why don't you think about this gratitude all the time? Even think of the suffering as a gift for you. Psychologically, induce that idea that it's gift and pay, gratitude to this ultimate Lord. So when this gratitude develops, gratitude is nothing but true devotion, true belief, and true love. So when we develop that complete gratitude towards this Almighty, for everything, suffering is common. In life, the life has to decay. The body has to decay and it has to undergo suffering. It comes into life with suffering. It goes out with suffering. Very few people are lucky. They just go to bed and they're gone. Right? Very lucky people. But otherwise we have to go through this suffering. But what gratitude does is it gives us a constant remembrance. It develops that constant remembrance. In one of the verses, from Gita, they say It's not about how you lived your life, but at the time, when of death, if you are in remembrance, that will take you to the heavens. So some people, they want loopholes. So what they do is they name their children on the God's name. So inevitably you are thinking about your children. So they think by taking the name of the Lord, they are actually thinking about their child. If the child is named Jesus, he's thinking about his child, Jesus. Thinking that he's remembering Jesus. That's not how it works. It only works when that gratitude is completely developed in our heart. So it doesn't matter. So it's an interesting observation that as we grow old, our body sort of tend to decay. That luster or the beauty is slowly goes away. But if we see these, masters, they're, look at the photographs of Babuji or Chariji. Even Daji is not that old, but I'm just saying. There is so much grace. Why? Because even in children, you see, there is so much grace, there is so much, light in them. The reason they don't have the idea of death. But slowly, as we grow older, we tend to think about death more. So it takes away the life force from us. A lot of energy is spent to avoid the death because we are thinking about it. See, that's also a transaction in the mind. So what happens is, because of we are thinking about it, it sucks away the life from us. So we tend to get older faster. But if I develop this gratitude, I am neither thinking about death or life. I am just living in the present when I am in gratitude. Future plans are there. I'm thinking about the future, but at the same time, I'm so, thanking so much for all the things, good and bad. It creates so much positivity, so much life force in us. And see how it transforms every cell in our body. So gratitude is the idea. I mean, this is something I knew before, I heard about it, but in this Kanha trip, it went deep into my heart. I felt that is the devotion, that is the love for the Master. Otherwise, what is love? It's an emotional connection to an entity, then we idolize that person, that entity. And we miss the whole, growth of spirituality. The moment we idolize something, we lose it. We solidify it. We bring it to our level. Instead of we elevating ourselves to that level, we bring that to our level. And we are happy. Oh, I am devotee. I love my guru. I love my teacher. But that's not love. If I am saying I love something, there should not be anything pointed towards. I cannot say I love something. So love is such a profound thing. So love is being. It is a state of being. In a state of being, it cannot be projected towards something or somebody. It has to be universal. It has to be infinite. So it cannot be confined by space and time. So that's why the gratitude kind of gives that expansion. Try it, be in that mode of thanksgiving and be in that connection and see how it anything which is happening around us, first, pay gratitude. If anybody misbehaving, okay, that's how it is. Pay gratitude and pray for them also. If anybody, like whatever. But that doesn't mean we have to keep that contact. If there is somebody who is not to the mark in terms of dealing with us, we can keep them away, but we can keep them in our prayers. Because we don't want that disturbance to be tagged into us just because I'm spiritual. We can disconnect at the same time pray. Right? So, and thank to the Lord for giving us this wisdom opportunity. Right? So you see how it kind of transforms us. And ever since I came back, this state of, being in gratitude, I could see so much difference which I have not observed in last my 30 years of practice. Okay. So, please try it. All right, we can